how the season is winding down so quickly. I'm out in the field doing some land work as the combines are in the corn and the sunflowers, and we're kind of on a mad dash to get things done before the weather turns on us. Just beautiful harvest weather right now, so we are busting our butts. I've been leaving Carrie to do all the wrap-up work with the bees, so she's going around and pulling strips, pulling pails. They're mostly empty. Oh, they're like rocks. Getting all that done. I might be able to help her this weekend pull strips if I can get a kid on the tractor, but school takes priority. Oh, I'm sure stuck down there. I sure don't like these wafers. Oh, they're still strong. These are coming out. I don't want them in my shed. Whoa, girls. Ouch. Good morning. Nicely packed. Kind of miss my bees, actually. Gotta get back into them. Hopefully I can get a chance to help this weekend. Boy, they have the clusters away from these little wafers. Whew. They are starting to tear them apart. The cluster is to the front. Packed right to the front and to the bottom. So I had Carrie put these entrance reducers in because we're going to do an oxalic acid vapor on them. But time is escaping us. I wanted 2 rounds, but it looks like we're only going to be able to get 1 round in, and I'm going to do that as I pick them and then move them. I'm going to not move them off the truck into the shed, but move them off the truck onto the cement pad, and Carrie can treat before we then put them in. Yeah, push right away from those little wafers. Packed on the other side. So as she's working through pulling strips, every once in a while a strip will fall to the bottom through the frame, so she has to tip the colony back, and she'll take a small sample randomly throughout the entire apiary. Zeros. Actually, she, not yesterday, the day before, working through those 300, she found 1 mite. And then yesterday, she's working through, she found a colony without apivar in it, but the wafer. And she just took a small sample, like a 100 bee sample. She found 1 mite, so 1% in that. So I'm it's hard to say that I'm relieved. I am relieved, but I don't know if I can say I'm confident. The little bastards are in there. So she dug down into a nest, and there's just a little wee patch of eggs and a little wee patch of brood. We've got them packed out just beautifully. So those mites can't hide. The treatments that are in the colonies are killing the mites, dropping them. So I did a little bit of simple math, and before I put my wafers in, I was counting pretty, like we do a lot of shakes, pretty routinely through the production colonies at that 5%, up to 7%, 5 to 7% mite counts. And that's with the brood nest shrinking. and I found a yard that was showing some 10%. So if I do my math, if there's 1,500 colonies at 5% mite counts, that's 1.2 million mites. So I put that AppyLife VAR in with the AppyVAR, and I monitored randomly with sticky boards, and I was seeing 100 mites drop every day for about a week. And counting zeros. 1 week, we're counting zeros. So it absolutely purged the mites. So using that basic math, I dropped 1.2 million mites within my operation within 1 week. That's pretty significant when you consider the damage those little bastards do to the winter nest in the shed. So very important. Now that I have my nest set up, I have it protected, and now we are preserving it. Oh, I just opened that one. They didn't like me. Look at that. Packed full of bees. Just the way I like it. As beekeepers, we can apply the bulk nutrients, as I was saying. That's easy enough. We can balance that out. But the trick is getting the bees to utilize it. How do you make those nutrients accessible for the honeybee to be able to digest and then use to build those bees in that next generation? And that is the secret. That is the point where we can't cross. So we're working on this feed supplement, and we're promoting, it's not probiotic. There's probiotic that we do apply, but it's more so a focus on prebiotic and postbiotic. Whereas maybe it's the bees themselves and the interaction of the bees and the organisms of the environment. Maybe it's the dynamics of those two working together to be able to process the feed that they have and make it available for the bees to utilize. Very specifically, maybe it's the microorganisms on the pollen grain itself and the interaction of these microorganisms within the gut of the bee. And as these organisms grow, develop, and die, maybe it's the secretions of the nutrients of the microorganisms themselves within the bee's gut, and maybe it's the digestion of those microorganisms as they die off, which is providing those essential elements for the honeybee to bridge the gap of generations, to utilize the nutrients and the very specific balance that is needed to be able to make that step forward. So within our supplement, as we're providing that balance, we're focusing on, that prebiotic within the bee's gut. How do you set up that microbial environment? Or how do you set the house to promote that microbial environment within the bee's gut? Maybe then provide some of that microorganism into the bee's gut as the probiotic, but then also set up the house to allow digestion of that microorganism as it dies off, as the postbiotic. And by focusing on that approach, we seem to be able to have taken and adjusted our feed in such a manner where the bees are then taking a much quicker and easy and more natural step as I'm trying to extend that brood nest in the fall, where I'm always struggling when the pollen runs out. The bees, it's so hard to feed supplement to extend that brood nest out. But with our efforts of this feed supplement we're putting in to our patties and into the syrup, it seems like it's a much more of a natural push out of that brood nest to a point where we can pretty much feed our colonies and then stop feeding just to develop exactly that brood nest where we want it.